BBC News, hello, I'm Gareth Barlow. The mayors of Minneapolis and St Paul have declared a state of emergency and imposed an overnight curfew in the twin US cities, following unrest over the police shooting of a young black man. Police say Daunte Wright was killed after an officer accidentally pulled her gun instead of her taser. President Biden called for protests to remain peaceful.
There is absolutely no justification, none, for looting. No justification for violence. Peaceful protest, understandable. And the fact is that, we do know that the anger, pain, and trauma that exists in the black community in that environment is real. It's serious and it's consequential. But will not justify violence and or looting.
Police in the US state of Tennessee say one person has been killed in a shooting at a high school in the eastern city of Knoxville. Several people were reported injured, including a police officer. Local news said a male teenager had been shot dead and one person had been detained. Associates of the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny say he's lost 15 kilos since being sent to a prison camp. Mr. Navalny began a hunger strike at the end of last month. His team says wardens are threatening to force-feed him. Sarah Rainsford reports from Moscow.
Mr. Navalny, who's often described as Vladimir Putin's fiercest critic, almost died last year when he was poisoned with a nerve agent. Now he's suffering from acute back pain and numbness in his legs. His lawyers say a scan showed he has 2 slipped discs, but he's not being allowed an independent examination or the treatment prescribed for him by a doctor in Moscow. The Kremlin says if Mr. Navalny is sick, he'll be cared for by prison medical staff with no preferential treatment. He was moved to the prison sick ward last week with a high temperature and cough, but has now been returned to his barracks.
Our Russia correspondent Sarah Rainsford. The head of the World Health Organization has warned that complacency is prolonging the COVID-19 pandemic as some countries relax restrictions. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said cases of the virus had risen for the last 7 weeks in a row. From Geneva, here's the BBC's Imogen Folks.
The World Health Organization knows global patience is wearing thin. Businesses are desperate to restart. But today the WHO suggested this is not the moment to relax restrictions. Even in countries like the United Kingdom with advanced vaccination programs, millions of people remain unvaccinated. A resurgence in cases now could allow vaccine-resistant variants of the virus to emerge. To stop that happening, the WHO says we should double down on social distancing, mask wearing and hand hygiene.
From Studio WL3, this is the latest world news from the BBC. The White House says Mexico has placed more security forces on its southern border as part of its efforts to stem the growing number of migrants from Central America crossing the country and reaching the US. The White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the objective was to make it more difficult to make the journey. The Chadian army said rebels entered its northern Chad on Sunday, the day of the country's presidential election. It said the rebels had been seen in Tibesti province, about 1,000 kilometres north of the capital N'Djamena, and said that steps had been taken to neutralise the incursion. But the rebel group said it had taken garrisons near Chad's borders with Niger and also with Libya. Somalia's lower house of parliament has voted to extend President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo's term for another 2 years, despite his mandate expiring in February. They say this will allow time to organise direct elections. With more details, Mary Harper has this report.
The vote to extend Mr Farmajo's term is a political bombshell. Foreign powers and many Somalis, including powerful politicians, say they will not accept such a move. The country's Senate has rejected it. The political chaos has also exposed deep and dangerous rifts in the security forces. The National Police Commissioner earlier fired the police chief of the capital, Mogadishu, moments after he tried to suspend Parliament so it couldn't extend the president's term, warning it could lead to war.
A Norwegian man has been charged with being part of a plot to bomb St Paul's Cathedral in London. A British woman, Sophia Sheikh, a supporter of the Islamic State group, was jailed for life last year after admitting her intention to blow herself up at the cathedral. Norwegian prosecutors allege that the 24-year-old man had been in contact with her in the run-up to the planned attack. World News from the BBC.